Good evening and welcome to Global Lens on Apna Watan TV. I am Saadia Afzaal. Tonight we bring you reflections on a summit that shook the region, not just for what was said, but for what it implies about the future of Arab-Islamic unity, diplomacy and the audacity of power in a fractious Middle East. We are speaking of the emergency Arab-Islamic summit in Doha, convened in the wake of an Israeli airstrike on Hamas leaders in Doha. An attack that has been condemned by nearly every Arab and Muslim country as a reckless violation of sovereignty, international law and peace. On September 9, 2025, Israel carried out an airstrike in Doha targeting Hamas leadership. Among those killed were 5 Hamas members and a Qatari security officer. The strike took place while mediation was underway, including efforts by Qatar with the assistance of the United States to broker a ceasefire in Gaza. Doha has said the assault was state terrorism, a violation of international law, a blatant attack on the sovereignty of its soil, and a blow to the possibility of peace. In response, Qatar called for an emergency summit of the Arab League and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), inviting Muslim and Arab leaders from across the region to unite in condemnation and to decide on a collective response. From Pakistan's side, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif journeyed to Doha on a one-day visit to express solidarity with Qatar. He condemned the Israeli strike, calling it a blatant violation of Qatar's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He emphasized that the aggression was not just against Qatar, but an attempt to sabotage mediation and peace efforts in the broader Middle East. He urged the Muslim world to speak with one voice, to stand together against provocations, to not allow once again the voices of the oppressed, especially the Palestinians, to go unheard. He proposed concrete responses, legal, diplomatic, economic measures, even the suspension of Israel's UN membership was on the agenda. He also called for the creation of an Arab-Islamic task force to monitor and respond to Israel's expansionist designs. In his bilateral meeting with Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, Prime Minister Shehbaz expressed his appreciation for Saudi diplomacy and sought coordination and support in international forums to translate words into action. Many Arab and Islamic states joined Pakistan, Qatar, Iran, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Morocco, Bahrain and others in denouncing the attack. The language used was strong, treacherous, illegal, a violation of sovereignty, state terrorism, assault on peace mediation. Some leaders went further. Iran's president called on Muslim countries to sever ties with Israel. Others spoke of considering diplomatic and economic reviews. Cutting or downgrading relations with Israel, perhaps legal action. There was talk of forming a collective security posture. The Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC countries, indicated that they are consulting through their military bodies, the United Military Command, to build up Gulf deterrent capabilities. Despite these condemnations, there was hesitation to commit to harsh or immediate punitive or military actions. The final communiqué was strong in language but lighter in terms of binding or actionable commitments. The summit's final communiqué, issued in Doha under the chairmanship of His Excellency the Amir, Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, lays out several key points. It condemns in the strongest terms the Israeli attack on Qatar, calling it illegal, cowardly, and a violation of territorial integrity and sovereignty. It also reaffirms solidarity with Qatar, as well as the duty of all Arab and Islamic states to respond to aggression against any one of them, recalling the principles of the UN Charter, especially Article 2, Sub-Article 4 on prohibition of use of force. The communiqué reiterates commitments to sovereignty, independence, security of member states and recalls past resolutions rejecting aggression. While condemning, it also signals intent. It urges all states to take all possible legal and effective measures to prevent further Israeli actions against the Palestinian people. It calls for reviewing diplomatic and economic relations with Israel and initiating legal proceedings. But as noted, there were few sweeping commitments to severe sanctions, no military intervention plan spelled out, no immediate political isolation measures beyond threats and reviews in the communique. The task force idea was floated, but specifics remain vague. So what are the takeaways? Why does it matter? Number one, solidarity on display. For the first time in a while, many Arab and Muslim leaders have openly and strongly united in their public condemnations of Israel's actions. The unity in rhetoric is a message that aggression against one is aggression against all. It shows rising frustration among Arab states with the status quo. Number two, diplomacy under strain. The attack undermines the role of mediators, especially Qatar, which has acted as a bridge in many ceasefire talks. When attacks happen during mediation, it sends a chilling signal. Mediation can be attacked with impunity. That weakens incentives to engage in diplomacy. Number three, limits of action. Despite strong words, actual binding consequences are yet to be seen. The international system dependence on alliance, especially with the US, economic ties and fear of escalation make many countries wary of going beyond statements of condemnations. So far, the measures are diplomatic, legal, perhaps economic, but no military front. That is not negligible, but not transformative yet. Number four, legal and moral pressure. The call to initiate legal proceedings, review of diplomatic and economic relations, suspension of United Nations membership, these are heavier weapons of the modern diplomatic arsenal. If carried out, they can isolate Israel, increase costs, and shift narratives. But execution will be key. Which countries bite? Which follow through? Number five, the role of smaller and balancing states. Countries like Pakistan, which are not in the immediate Gulf but who have traditional moral and diplomatic weight, are using these platforms, UN or OIC, to try to shape the response. Saudi Arabia, due to its size and international relationships, remain crucial. Its willingness to push beyond rhetoric will influence what others do. So will Turkey, Iran, Jordan, Egypt, and Morocco. Number six, possible impact on normalization and peacemaking. The communique warned that Israeli aggression threatens normalization agreements existing or in the future. The trust that normalization is possible depends on restraint. If the perception becomes that Israel can act with little consequence, that trust erodes. That has implications for Abraham Accords signatories and potential normalization partners. There are certain questions which we all should keep in mind. Will any country actually cut off diplomatic or economic ties with Israel or downgrade relations? Or will these remain only threats? Will international legal proceedings be initiated? If yes, then which courts or tribunals? And will there be cooperation? Will there be real enforceable sanctions or coordinated action, economic, political, or will the response be piecemeal? How will Israel respond? And how will its allies, especially the US, react if pressure increases? Will they shield Israel diplomatically or call for restraint? What happens to the mediation space? If mediators themselves are seen as targets, the chilling effect may push mediators to withdraw or reduce engagement. In sum, this event in Doha marks a critical moment of unity, of confrontation, but also of uncertainty. Strong words have been spoken, firm accusations laid down, moral lines drawn, but whether these will lead to concrete change in international diplomacy, in power dynamics, and in how states behave remains to be seen. We are at a possible inflection point. Either this moment leads to a more assertive, united, legally fortified Muslim-Arab response to aggression, or it becomes, like so many moments before, a demonstration of outrage followed by the usual inertia. The stakes are high. not just for Qatar, not just for Palestine, but for the credibility of international law, for the safety of mediators, and for the integrity of state sovereignty in this volatile region. For many in the region, this is not just a political summit, it is a test of unity, justice, and whether moral outrage can be turned into moral power. This is Saadia Afzaal for Apna Watan TV.
You are watching Apna Watan.